creative ways to cook. That's what we hope to accomplish on our segments of Christopher's Kitchen. Now, on this edition, for those of you that have labored and labored over making that pie crust just like your grandmother made, and it didn't turn out the same, we may have a new twist on an old idea.
Well, it's probably one of the oldest recipes around as a pie crust. But for me, this is an easier way. I don't like rolling out pie crust and getting flour everywhere and stuff like that. So this is easier. You do it in a food processor, and what we do is we form it, roll it, put it in the freezer, and then we grate it. The basic pie crust that I use is 60% flour, 40% butter by weight. Okay? And that's the best way to do it. If you're going to do any baking, you should probably have a scale around anyway. If not, you can use a recipe that you've always been using at home. That's fine. But this is the way we do ours.
Yeah, and you know, this borderlines on meddling in some families here, but changing a pie crust recipe.
Yeah, use your own pie crust. I don't want to upset anybody. But this is great. It really is a flaky pie crust. 60% flour, 40% butter. Okay, and this butter is cold. It's very cold, and I've cubed it. Just add that in there. I'm going to do a little pinch of salt, probably about 1/4 teaspoon. Okay? And Mike, you are 3/4 of the way done, believe it or not. Okay? So now we just want to pulse that a little bit. We want to break up that butter. Just get that going. Now I'm cutting the butter into the flour right now. Now the thing about pie crust, Mike, is you don't want to overwork it. When you're dealing with flour, flour has gluten in it. The more gluten you build up, the stretchier the dough is, and that's tough. That's the way it becomes tough. So now I've cut the butter into the flour. I'm going to add, for this recipe, 3 tablespoons of ice cold water. Just till it comes together. See it starting to come together there? And that's it. Once it starts doing that, we're basically done. Just going to take this out and dump it on the cutting board. Now listen, I know it looks very dry right now, but if you notice, I'm just going to press that together a little bit. And that's all that really needs. I'm trying careful not to knead this, you know, pushing down on it like a bread dough, because I really want that butter and flour to remain separate. That's what makes a pie crust flaky. Now, if you wanted to be very accurate, you could weigh these to make sure you have equal halves. And this recipe is enough for 2 pie crusts. Now we're just going to wrap these. Plastic wrap, put these in the freezer. Now after they are in the freezer, probably 40 minutes or so is plenty of time, but this also stores very well. You could use one now and 2 months later use the other one.
Okay, so they've come out of the freezer now. Right. This is where the really neat part about it really comes to shape.
Well, for me, this is I don't know if it's time saving. Some people like it. Some of my guys like doing this, some of them don't. But I just think it's a great idea, and it makes a flakier crust. So now you just take that and you just run it on your grater. You can do it in the pie pan, you can do it outside. And also, I happen to have a stand-up grater also that you can use. This is probably a little bit easier. Okay, so we've got enough grated there. And now you just press this in where you like it. You can always fill in little gaps. I'm just pressing it in a little bit with my fingers, leaving a little bit for the crust. Now the tart that I'm going to be doing next week, I just need a little shallow crust on the side. So we're just doing a little bit like that. I get some around the sides. Just pressing it in. And this is it. And now you can use this for anything you like. The only thing I'm trying to show you here is just a method, just a different way of doing it so you don't have to roll it out, have flour everywhere. You can just grate it and put it in there.
All right, a bit of a simpler and cleaner method of making the pie crust, perhaps without all of the effort. And again, coming up in about 2 weeks from right now, we're going to show you some interesting ways to use this.
That's right.
We're going to have a sweet tart and a savory tart that we'll be creating with the use of this type of pie crust. And certainly this recipe and others can be accessed on the food page at kbtx.com. Just click on to Christopher's Kitchen. For Christopher Lampo, I'm Mike Wright.